So it's Tuesday evening. Tuesday evening. It's 8:45, and just got my schnitzels pretty much ready. Put some Frank's Hot Red Hot on them because they're basically bland, even the ones that say they're spicy. It's actually something I've come to be very frustrated about in Israel. It's that you get things that are labeled as spicy and they're not, which is weird because the Sephardic community and Sfardis are known for loving spicy. It's not that big a deal because you got Frank's Red Hot. I guess you can thank the huge influx of North American Aliyah people because they probably a lot of them probably like Frank's. Um, I know the chili harif, the sauce. I know a guy back in Toronto. He likes like the really spicy stuff. That's not my style. I like Frank's. It's got flavor and spice. The reason I'm doing this video is because somebody suggested I start a YouTube channel. I've got a YouTube channel and I don't bother with it. I mean, people talk about how you can make money on it. I'm like, my experience in life is either you work a day job or you just go out and beg. Those seem to be the only two ways of making money. And I don't know how the employers make money. You know, there was an old quip that Jewish business is all about losing. It's all about giving. They got this quip about a business guy. He's trying to get customers into his store, and he says everything's below cost. So how do you make money? He says on volume. Okay, I mean, but this doesn't work that way. I mean, if you buy in bulk, at a lower price, and then you sell it at a small margin, if you sell enough, you might make enough money. And if you really trust in God, then who cares? Give it away, sell it at a huge margin, or sell it at a small margin. That's not my point. My point is just frustration. I mean, I've been here 5.5 years, and what the Talmud saying that a woman would rather be married to a disgusting man than stay single. And then you get all these seminary girls that you'd imagine that based on psychology, their hormones must be raging. A guy wants to marry them. 1 out of 1,000 would say yes. Nothing. I mean, seriously, I'm here 5.5 years, almost 6 years, and there hasn't been one teenage girl, 20-something, who jumped at the opportunity to be with me. Now, either I'm disgusting, and I have a hard time believing such a thing. I mean, I try to dress relatively appropriate. I don't wear a kippah because I don't want people to think I'm religious. I'm not, but I do want to wear a head covering because I grew up with such a thing. And I want people to, well, it's not so much I want people to know, it's just, I don't want them to think I'm not Jewish or completely secular. I mean, I do have some religious things, and I was so hoping that with sufficient financial aid and with a beautiful, wonderful, loyal wife to live a relatively religious life. Hopefully morning prayers, hopefully evening prayers, a little bit of study, some work or the begging, but Shabbat and holidays. And I can't. I tried being religious single, and I tried being secular single. I can't get anywhere. And it's like the women are completely anti going out with somebody who's a beggar. And I meet couples, and I'm like, do you know anybody for me? But they have to be okay with a beggar. I mean, if she can't be okay with me at my lowest, at my worst, why the heck would I want her in my life when things improve? If I found a billionaire donor to chip me off a couple $1,000,000 to get myself my own home and to start a business and things like that, and then comes along women, it's like, well, you only want me for my money? The Talmud says that a woman could be married, could be, I mean, the literal language is purchased, but the Talmud explains that it doesn't mean purchasing in that sense as in a commodity so much as she becomes the wife. But for the smallest amount of money, what's called a shavapruta. In my experience, I mean, yeah, you could have a girlfriend like that if you're charismatic and you got enough aggression. If your hormones are raging bad enough, you take a girl out for a slice of pizza, and then you could be fucking her brains out that night. I don't have that energy. I'm looking for a wife. I'm looking for consistency. I've had my one night stands. I've had girlfriends. I don't want that anymore. And I feel bad that I didn't marry my first girlfriend because I was madly in love with her. And the only reason I broke up with her is because I couldn't see how I could support us. I was madly in love with her. It wasn't just about sex. It was about I felt so comfortable with her. And every girl since then was mostly about sex. There was other factors involved. My second girlfriend, I broke up with her because she was okay with eating pork, and she was way too superficial about certain things. And lastly, she was also a little heavy set for me. Although, quite frankly, I would have tolerated that probably if she wasn't into the pork and was slightly into the religion and not so superficial. And then another girl, I begged her to convert because there were so many similarities in her personality and her traumas growing up, family issues, and neither one of us were money grubbing. I mean, it's true I want money now, but it's not for me. It's to be able to support a wife and kids. I mean, that's for myself. If I didn't care, if I was only interested in one night stands, a bedroom is sufficient. I don't need to hide to have sex. I just, I might not want people hearing me grunt or hearing her grunt or whatever, but I don't need to have my own place for that. Just I don't know what I'm getting at. Frozen schnitzels taste like shit. Could have gone out to a restaurant, but I hate eating in a restaurant alone. Last time I was out with a guy friend, it was like, where's my appetite? And I don't really want to be here because it's a guy. At least if I had a wife, I didn't have an appetite. At least I'd probably enjoy the company because I know I'm with, ow, my tongue, with my spouse. Let me take, for example, this woman who, Rina Naki. She lives in the issue. She lives a 10-minute walk away, a 15-minute walk away. She's got a really adorable, cute 2-year-old daughter. And I feel bad because the daughter's going to lose out on a potential good friend, male role model in her life. I mean, not that I'm a role model, but a male influence, period, consistently, because she threw out her baby daddy because, I don't know, they weren't getting along, and then finally he hit her. And me, I mean, I have physical altercation in 9th grade. Guy started up with me, whatever. It didn't last, like, I'm not a fighter. It's just, it doesn't happen. She came up to me at the bus stop tonight, twice, trying to get the daughter, Mikhali, to recognition, engage the daughter with the world. I'm not interested. I mean, originally I was only interested in the daughter. I met them in the Makolit over a year ago. I was only interested. I love babies. But now there's too much emotion attached to it. The daughter's connected to this woman who's not married, who is more or less physically attractive. I mean, her face, it's not the prettiest face, but her body's very nice. If she agreed to be my wife, I think I could overlook the face. I mean, I'm hoping she keeps kosher. I'm not so sure if she keeps Shabbat or not. But she's usually around the issue. She doesn't have a car, so she's obviously not driving. It's almost impossible to get pork, at least anywhere that I see. So, that issue's not there. She doesn't have a lot of money, and she doesn't seem to be that money grubbing. But she wants to make sure that she's secure. Her parents aren't supporting her. The baby daddy isn't supporting. And my income, I don't know what to do with it. I mean, food, and obviously, there's got to be some maintenance. I'm trying to get the air conditioner installed, but I don't, my money I'm saving up for dental implants, and God knows what else might come along, We're not talking about, huge sums of money. If I had hundreds of thousands of shekels, yeah, it'd be a different story, I probably wouldn't be begging. I'd probably be, I don't know at this point. I don't know. I really have no idea. I mean, if magically somebody put, $100,000 into my bank account, at this point, I don't even think that's enough to make a new move in life. It'd have to be enough to at least buy my own home, because renting a place, it doesn't pay to move. I have a room, relatively secure. $1 million, I could at least buy something, But even that, I probably wouldn't because it wouldn't be sufficient for the next step. I mean, I'd have to furnish the place, and then there's upkeep, maintenance, and food, and clothing and stuff. I have a cousin, second cousin on my mother's side. We were studying in the same cola, just north of Toronto. And I did an estimate that it's roughly $1 million to raise a kid. And this is like 15 years ago. I mean, just assume the same number. So I did a rough calculation. Let's say $25 million, you're going to have 5 kids. $5 million for the kids, you got to buy a house, you got to pay for a wedding, and you got to support the wife. And there's vacations and whatever else might come along. $25 million Canadian, you're set. You're going to meet all your basics guaranteed. It's probably more than enough, but at least comfort, Don't have to worry about it. You can put most of it into a savings account and live off the interest, You can buy 2 houses. I own a house in Toronto. I own a house in Jerusalem, or outside Jerusalem. There's plenty of properly maintained used houses up and down the country. I could buy this house off my cousin. I estimate its value around 500,000 shekels. If I had $25 million, maybe I would buy it. Have a nice place out in the sticks. I want to get away from everybody. So I get an air conditioner installed. I get a central heater installed. Buy a new dryer. I mean, there's not that much that needs to, be upkeep. Let's say, 500,000 for the house and another, 100,000 in investment in the property. And there you've got a house away from everybody and away from everything. It's a very, very quiet issue. So give or take 6,000 people live here. It's very small, very quiet compared to, Toronto or Vaughan, Thornhill. Let's say I want a house in Beersheba, Haifa. A lot. Money goes like that. There's no question about it. Money just disappears. You can spend money like you wouldn't believe. One time I was fantasizing with a friend of mine is when we were in our early 20s, how easy it is to spend $1 billion. You buy one jet, you buy a bunch of houses, and a bunch of fancy cars. What are you left with? A couple million, couple $100 million? Man, it just goes. And that's not including charitable activities. You got $1 billion. How hard is it? You go to Tel Aviv one day. You see the homeless people. You go up to them and say, anything you want, up to $500. I get it for you. No questions asked. No drugs, obviously. I'm probably not going to buy them alcohol. Let's say clothes. Or, they want to rent a room for a month. Things like that. But that's, that's I'm a billionaire. If I only have 25 million, so then not really, I'll help make sandwiches. You got people from Kedumim that show up once a week and they have care packages with Q-tips and shampoo and bandages and, sandwiches. So I would help out with that, I'd have the free time. And why not? I'd probably get serious about my Lego museum. Instead of keeping it in my little walk-in closet here, I'd rent the storefront and have myself a Lego museum, It would probably cost a pretty penny because all the large Lego sets go for between 2, 3, and 500, 600 shekels, and there's more. There's, Tony Stark's mansion, or the Avengers mansion, is something like 800 shekel. It's a huge thing. It would take me, a number of weeks to build it, especially if I'm only using my free time. But at the same time, it'd be beautiful. It'd be nice to have a Lego museum. One of my favorite memories as a kid in camp is we went to the Lego Center or museum or whatever the heck it was called. I think on Center Island. I'm not 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure. And I'd love to build the sets and show them off, whether charging entry or giving free entry. Either way, depends how secure I am in my finances. if I can really afford it, have a play center where kids can actually try building their own stuff. Kids love playing with Lego, a lot of them. I know me and my oldest brother, we definitely play with Lego. Anyways, I don't know what this rant was about. It says I'm going on 15 minutes here, and it's 9 p.m. And there's a whole post ahead of this that I wrote about, which is basically just my day-to-day crap. Hope the volume's actually loud enough you can hear me. But it's Tuesday night, and other than getting my day-to-day expenses covered and seeing a lot of attractive women every day, also plenty of unattractive, but you know, out of mind. Don't think about that. You know, it's another reason I want a wife. Is, you know, I see all these attractive women, then I come home and it's like there's no sexual release. Thankfully, as I get older, my libido's going, which is another reason I want to get married. You know, I'd like to have a kid or a wife at minimum before my libido's completely gone. You know, I get to be 50 and there's no interest in sex. You know, women sort of look attractive still, but you know, even the seminary girls, but it's like, it's gone. You know, I'm not a teenager anymore. The hormones are going. You know, at least if I get a wife soon, I still have a little bit of a libido to enjoy. I mean, God created women and heterosexual males, and one of the things, I mean, is to enjoy. It's not the only thing. I mean, hopefully they have a decent mind and you can enjoy camaraderie and conversation, and hopefully some sharing of goals. You know, my wife doesn't have to enjoy Lego. You know, that's my pet project. If she does, maybe it's a bonus. I'm not sure. I kind of like building the stuff on my own. And then when kids come into the picture, it's got to be like off limits. You know, maybe they can have their place where they play, but you know, where I'm building for my own mental health or for a Lego museum. You know, I mean, unless I got multiple sets going and the kids can do their own, otherwise they're just gonna get in the way. I mean, my cousin came in here and I was building the Arch de Triomphe, or Triumphal Arch. Really shitty set, by the way. Don't get it. I couldn't tolerate the involvement. You know. Now it could be because he just pushed too many my buttons for the past number of years, and I don't want anything to do with him. But I feel that way about a lot of guys. Hey, first of all, not in my bedroom. You know, if we have a building area in the house, let's say even, you know, this central room downstairs, and we, you know, start building, so then it's a group effort thing in a emotionally charged room. Like the bedroom for me is like man by himself, woman by herself, or man and woman. Or if you're gay, you know, fine. I'm not God. I know I'm not gonna forbid you. I don't want to see it, but I can't forbid you from doing that. And women on women, I actually kind of enjoy it, assuming they're attractive. You know, there's plenty of butch women out there. It's like, I don't want to see it. I'm into, you know, not necessarily Hollywood looking, but you know, I do like a certain type of woman. And this Rena Nutke woman, she's got it. You know, she's not got the prettiest face or the prettiest hair, but her body is very nice. And if I wasn't so frustrated with her disinterest in a sexual relationship, I'd be very interested. I am, well, kind of interested, you know. Her having a kid, you know, I think more about the responsibilities. You know, she can't just come over here and drop everything and fuck, you know. At any given time, the baby may need to be fed or changed or just simply talked to, or I don't know what else goes into a baby. I've never had a baby, and I've only ever babysat like 2, maybe 3 times in my life. All the more reason to want a kid, because, you know, have a reason to be a part of a community. Well, you're doing this to raise a kid, or you're doing that to raise a kid, and then you can have angst. I remember at the Seder, she was talking with a couple at the table next to us, and the baby was chubby, so she asked the mother if she was giving her Materna, which is formula, And the mother confirmed. She's like, yeah, I only do breastfeeding. It's natural and the baby doesn't get fat. I wouldn't know from these things, you know. I assume I breastfed, but I have no idea. It's not a question I ever thought that's my mother, nor do I really want to know the answer. I don't want to think about my mother's body. You know, it's like, have I seen my mother naked? Yeah. Is she relatively attractive? Yeah. You know, it's my mother. I really don't want to. I really don't want to even think about that right now. It's like, can I get a drill and like get that thought out of my head? It's my mother, you know. My sister, I can't even think of. It's like, you know, I've seen pictures of her dressed naked. I don't remember ever. You know, I mean, as toddlers, you know, we bathed. My mother bathed us, but I don't remember anything as her as a teenager or as an adult. You know, is she an attractive woman? I guess. I don't know. So, never thought about it like that. It's like, yeah, I guess so. I don't know. You know, if she wasn't my sister, would I be interested? Probably. Yeah, whatever. It's confusing. Life is freaking confusing. But here's the schnitzel with Frank's Red Hot. And clean teeth. Relatively. I mean, I had a deep cleaning yesterday at the dentist. You can feel the difference. The hygienist kept asking me, they feel smoother. I guess they feel smoother. I hadn't even thought about that. They feel clean, you know. They're still a little stained, which is kind of my problem. You know, with the coffee and the cigarettes. And not brushing. I've never been a big brusher. I don't really remember much my parents demanding it. I don't remember foster care, my foster parents demanding it. When I was living in yeshiva dormitories, some people did, some people didn't. In fact, I don't remember anybody talking about going to the dentist, you know. I guess it takes all kinds. I don't know what else there is to say. My new Lego set came. It looks gigantic. It better be. It was expensive. It was like $500, including the first round of shipping. And then the local shipping company wanted another 143 or 147 shekels for shipping import. I don't know why they didn't just take it to one of the drop-off locations like usual. I mean, I guess I appreciate it coming closer. I'll have to take another 2 buses to go and 2 buses to come back. But, you know, an hour and a half trip, 2-hour trip on a monthly Ravkov versus paying another 140 something shekels to get it delivered. I mean, it's not a big item, you know, it's relatively easy to carry on the bus, you know, versus the air conditioner or my fridge or I don't remember. My standing fan I got delivered, but I'm pretty sure it was free delivery. This fan in my room, got it in Shar Binyamin. It's probably even time to replace it. It's not that great a fan, and it's filthy. It's got some sort of grease on it. Maybe from the air, from cigarette smoke, or maybe, I don't know what. I don't know what else to say. I really don't know what else to say. I met an acquaintance of mine's daughter tonight. If she hadn't have told me who she was, I might have hit on her. But I was in the middle of an endeavor of doing a query, like a poll, amongst these seminary girls, asking them what their number one quality was they look for in a spouse. You know, even if they're not looking for one, at least to put the idea in their head. You know, because I remember when I was dating, I wasn't looking for anything. It was like, do I find this person sexually attractive? And that was it. And today it's not much more than that. I mean, if the woman's a bitch, obviously I'm not going to want anything to do with her. But if she's relatively pleasant and she's physically attractive, I'm very interested. I can't say the same thing for how she feels. Obviously none of them have been interested yet. I was looking at a bunch of stuff on AliExpress. I think right now my shopping cart there's like 3,000 shekels worth of stuff. I was trying to window it down to, what do I think I actually need? What do I think I can actually use? Put it away a number of times. It's like I have some money in my PayPal account, but it's like, do I really want to spend it on AliExpress stuff? I don't know what I'm lacking in my life. In the small stuff department. It just seems to me the big stuff is missing. Just like I need a dental implant here, a new tooth, and soon I'm going to need a new one here. Two different, this is the far back one, and this is the middle molar. Theoretically I could use a new drying rack for my clothes. The one I've got is, it's not in good shape. But every time I pass one, it's like, it's still functional, It's like, but having my own home be like a modern, fully furnished, fully functional, I don't typically smoke indoors unless it's like raining, so I'll smoke in my doorway. Or if it's freezing, then I'll smoke in the doorway with the heater on. When it's boiling outside, it's usually hotter in my room than outside. Unless I got like 3 fans going, in which case the ash is going to go everywhere, so it doesn't really pay to smoke indoors. There's a tarp in the front yard here, and by the front door, it's got a little bit of shelter, which is where I used to smoke the first winter I was here, the first rainfalls. But stopped doing that mostly. Did it once or twice this winter. But yeah, my own fully furnished, fully functional home. Tudatsu. I'm born Jewish, and Jewish as far back as I know. All of my relatives on both sides of the family are Jewish. I have an uncle's got a boyfriend who's not Jewish, but although quite frankly they could have gotten married because Canada legalized gay marriage. What else is there? And a wife. If I was bequeathed, an apartment. Although to be honest, I'd rather have a house than an apartment, but that's only because of expansion. I tend to buy a lot of stuff. Although if my funds go down, then forget about it, If my friends stop sending me money, $10 here, $15 there, $5 here, $7 there, $1 here. And some people even send like 100 or 2, It's rare, but it happens. If the online income ceases completely, and what I collect on the steps is basically, grocery money, grocery, cigarettes, bus money. If all that ceases, I'm going to be completely fucked. Yeah, sure, there's soup kitchens, but, I don't live near any of them. Out here in Adam, I'm at best, when there's zero traffic, 45 minutes away from the nearest soup kitchen. And when there's traffic, it could be up to 2 hours. In the morning, I want to get to Takamoni for 9:30. They start 9:30 to 10 or something like that. I have to leave minimum 8 in the morning. Minimum. And I typically prefer to do shoppers first. Which, the best case scenario, I'm up at 6, have a coffee and a cigarette, shower, assuming there's hot water, except in the summer when it's boiling hot, in which case, lukewarm or cold is better, but typically. And then be on a bus by like 6:45, be at the Koto by, at best, 7:30, more likely 8. Do a fast shakris be done by 8:30, 8:40. And then head over to Takamori. But it's not going to happen. I can't get myself in gear. The breakfast they serve isn't exciting. Breakfast doesn't excite me. It's a necessary thing. In fact, the lunch at Chabad doesn't excite me. Sometimes the schnitzel on Sunday is nice. And sometimes on Thursday I look forward to the parv chot. But typically, it doesn't excite me until I see it to my face that it's something I'm actually in the mood for. You know, like lunch today, if somebody would have told me it's roast beef and plain white rice, I don't know if I would have gotten up off my chair. But, you know, I go there and I see it and it looks attractive, you know, and I had it. Um, and when there's enough time and I get the guacamole, I typically eat. I mean, sometimes the salad looks a little off, but otherwise, you know, the food looks fine. And other than being afraid of breaking teeth, I like to eat bread crust. You know, I like to eat bread and I like to eat bread crust. Um, I think I'm a normal human being. I like to eat. I don't overeat typically. I think I put too much schnitzel on my grill tonight, but typically I don't overeat. I assume if I had a wife, other than if she was vegetarian, I would eat pretty much anything she would serve. Um, you know, I would hope that she's into some vegetables. You know, I appreciate having some vegetable content in my diet. Fruits too. I'm not a big fruit eater, but you know, if she wanted to put out a couple strawberries for supper, or a couple, for dessert, or a couple apple slices for dessert, or some cherries, orange, whatever, you know, I like fruit content. I like vegetable content. It's just I don't typically buy too many of them. It's too much of a hassle for me. But you know, that's another thing. As a family, it becomes more economical to buy such items. You know, like a thing of cherries. I'm not gonna eat a whole freaking thing. You know, I might eat 3 or 4 of them, and then what am I gonna do with the rest of them? I'm gonna forget about it tomorrow. But as a family, you know, you could buy a thing of them, and then each person could have a bunch of them for dessert, and then they go on the counter, and if anybody feels like it, grab one, and within 3, 4 days it's gone, and nobody has an upset stomach from overeating fruit. Um, and the same thing with buying a package of chicken breasts. You know, once that thing's open, sitting in the fridge, it's probably going to go bad very fast. Versus if you got a family, you know, 2 adults and a baby, there's 2 portions and a quarter at the first sitting. Does money go faster? Yeah, but there's less likelihood of contamination of things going bad. It gets more expensive when you gotta go to a restaurant, but I don't know. I mean, if I'm supposed to believe that God provides, then God would provide if I had a wife. You know, my income isn't fantastic, but it seems to be providing for my needs. You know, I've got extras around the house. I've got a small bag and a quarter of pretzels. I've got a whole bag of schnitzels, most of a bag of fries in the freezer. Got a little bit of salami, 2 types of salami. I got a little bit of olives. I got 3 beverages, 3 pre-cut, in a liter and a half things, 3 for 25. You know, I've got some instant noodle soups. You know, I've got my nutritional supplements. I've got canned salmon, 3 different types of canned salmon in different sauces that I've bought over the past year or 2. They're just sitting on my shelf there. My radiator that doesn't work. As emergency rations. You know, God forbid there's a war and I'm locked in for 48 hours. I've got some instant noodle soups and I've got these canned salmons. You know, minimum I've got that. You know, if there was no power, can eat that. You know, it doesn't need to be cooked. It's canned. Also, even got some canned tuna. I don't typically eat canned tuna. Also got some canned corn and canned olives. I also got some canned beans. I've got a jar and change of coffee. You know, I don't have a lot to offer a prospective wife, but I imagine that if God is the one providing, you know, that He's providing sufficiently. And if there was a wife in the picture, He would provide equal measure for her needs. I would hope. I just wish there was some beautiful, wonderful, loyal woman out there who wanted to share my life. You know, I'm sure it would require certain compromises. I'm not a perfect human being, and I'm sure she's not either. But it's just so fucking lonely. A pillow is no substitute for a woman lying next to a guy in a bed. You know, and masturbation is not even remotely what sex is. I mean, my sex drive has gone down tremendously. You know, I'm no longer a teenager who can masturbate 7 times in a day. You know, that doesn't happen. Not since, you know, but still, you know, even if it was just once a week for 2 minutes, just to connect with what I would hope is at least a semblance of my soulmate, of my body mate, you know. I hope I'm making any sense here. I hope to God I'm making any sense. There are so many beautiful women out there. So many small women, because I'm not a big guy. I'm 167 centimeters, you know. 48 kilo, you know. 5'5.5" and 110, 115 pounds. I think I've lost a pound or two since I came to Israel. I've gotten shorter, thankfully. I've gotten a little taller thanks to my platforms, you know. But, you know, I don't really want a woman who's taller than me. I'd much prefer a woman who's shorter than me by a few inches, you know, an inch or two or three. I don't want to get intimidated. And I want her to be cuddly, you know. If she's smaller than me, she's cuddly. It's another thing with Srinanaki woman. She's not much smaller than me. I don't think she's cuddly. She's just physically attractive. My grandparents, my father's parents, he was like 6 feet, and she was like 5 feet. My mother's parents was different. He was like my height, and she was, I don't even remember. I honestly don't remember. I have their immigration papers for when they came to Canada. It might say it on there. I don't know. It's not that important enough. I'm actually probably not going to check it. But there's another thing. You know, I don't want a woman who's short and then she's going to blow up to blimp, you know, if she gets pregnant. One thing I like about this Srinanaki woman, you know, she's had the baby already, and she hasn't gotten big. I haven't seen any pictures from before, but I assume she wasn't that much smaller, you know. But maybe I'm just a pig. Maybe I have to come to terms with the fact that I am never going to be the kind of person anymore that women are going to want. And that women's bodies tend to get bigger and not get smaller from pregnancies. It's Tuesday night. It's 9:24 p.m. I'm going to end this vlog, upload it to YouTube, and try and distract myself so I don't cry myself to sleep. I haven't done that in about 5 years. In the tent, when I had a tent in the old city, there was at least once, if not twice, that I just uncontrollable sobbing. Just this sense of hopelessness. That here I came to the land of my people. And it's true, it's the Middle East, and it's true that a lot of the country has aspects of being a third world country. But there's a lot of other aspects that it's a first world country. And there should be that infrastructure that somebody who they just can't get their act together financially. I think maybe that's not my only issue. Maybe I'm psychologically, maybe I'm a basket case. A lot of other people are always happy, or at least they put on a show of being happy. And me, I'm rarely ever happy. I find that it gets me into trouble. And when I start to act happy, I get frivolous, and the next thing I know, I'm a pissing the wrong person off on a legal matter. You know what I'm saying? So, this is Ben Silver, originally from Toronto, Canada. Also lived in Thornhill. Also lived in New York for a year. And now I'm here in Israel. Almost 6 years this trip. But if you include the year I did for Yeshiva, and the month in 2008, and the 6 weeks in 1996, it's like 7 years. Okay. Have a good night and a good Chodesh. Happy Rosh Chodesh. I don't know what you say to somebody. Chodesh Tov. That's what you say in Hebrew. Chodesh Tov. Chodesh Tov. Iyar. Chabad did say, Ani Hashem Rofecha. I'm not your healer, but the doctors, assuming they're competent. I highly recommend Ari Greenspan's hygienist, at least the one I went to. I forgot her name. She did a very good job. She poked me a little in sensitive places a couple times, but that might have been my issue because I waited like 6 years for cleaning, and I hardly ever brush, if ever. But she did a really good job. So I highly recommend Ari Greenspan Dental. Chodesh Tov.